Today we're going to be going over my Stamblade. That's going to be really viable for this patch, which is currently a high IO, and next patch, patch 35. Both of these patches are going to be really good for Stamblades, but let's really get into this really fast, right? Because I know what y'all here for. First things first, the most important thing, we're a Dark Elf, and the sets that we're running, and the food that we're running is we're running Smoke Bear Haunch, we're Vampire Stage 3. The Munda Stone that we're running is a Shadow, so we're stacking crit damage, FYI. And then lastly, for the actual sets themselves, Plague Break, Battle Orcs, Ratchet Vitality, Vata Shrine 2-hand, Back Bar, and Sea Serpent Coil. So the way that is set up, so you don't get too fucking wild in the comments, it's a 4-piece Plague Break from bar. It is Vata Shrine Back Bar, obviously. We're running 2 double hand mauls, just FYI, you're gonna have to get comfortable with that. Fuck you, Vex. Anyway, I'm just fucking with you. But nah, really get into this tune. You're about to see the damage come up in a second, but we're not lacking on damage. Even as the tune doesn't really scream a lot of damage or scream a lot of sustain or anything like that, Wretched Vitality alongside a couple skills get us access to some of the strongest sustain this patch you could possibly have without using Oaken Soul. Even next patch, it's going to be hard to reach the damage that we'd be reaching. 7.9 is very, very strong. Getting into the blue CP, we're running Exploiter and Master at Arms. More or less, Master at Arms increases our direct damage by 6%, while Exploiter will only increase our damage done by 10%. However, in order to do that, we will then have to set the enemy off balance. So in total, both of those stack together, meaning we do 16% increased damage done. We're running Focused Mending, which increases our single target heals. So our burst heals more or less on our tune heal better, alongside running Foresight, which makes it whenever we're activating any of our heal skills, they are reduced by 75%. Now getting into the red CP, Boundless Vitality increases our max health alongside Celerity, which increases our movement speed. We're stacking both of those together with Slippery, which whenever we are stunned, we immediately break free at no cost of our stamina, but we can't do it for 21 seconds. And then we're also running Relentlessness. Relentlessness is to make up for the fact that we're not planning on being hit too often. So with all that being said, whenever we are stunned, we immediately get major protection. So that helps us out in our sustain. Getting into this tune, there's a couple things to really consider when it comes to this tune, and that's the fact that, as I stated earlier, this is a jack of all trades. So what you particularly want to do for the tune may not be exactly what everybody else will be running. We are running Dark Elf, as I said earlier, so that grants us max magicka, flame resistance, and weapon damage. If you're trying to be the strongest DPS on this tune, you wouldn't be a Dark Elf. You would actually will be a Khajiit, because we're stacking crit damage and crit chance and a lot of weapon damage. So if you're trying to do the most amount of damage possible, do consider that. Now if you're trying to just be capable of doing everything while still hitting people extremely hard for literal like 13Ks, 14Ks without trying too hard, you can still do that. So don't feel out of place just because you're a Dark Elf, because a Dark Elf is actually best for the jack of all trades, and I'm gonna get into that a little bit more. But first, let's get into this gear and the skills. So the reason why we're running 4-piece Plague Break is because we just want the weapon damage and pen. You don't need to run 4-piece Plague Break. You can actually run 4-piece Stones. You can run 4-piece of any set as long as it grants you weapon damage, pen, and weapon damage. You need that little bit extra pen because you can't go wrong with having damn near 9k pen, considering that we're not applying any major or minor breaches. So in terms of solo play, you want that little bit extra pen. Now if you're comfortable with losing that pen for crit chance, you can if you want a little bit more crit, but I highly suggest sticking with a 4-piece Stones, sticking with a 4-piece Plague, things of that nature. Getting more into this tune, more about the skills than just the sets themselves, we're running Surprise Attack, Merciless Resolve, Camo Hunter with Executor, and Shadowy Disguise. We're running Dawnbreaker for our ultimate. Dawnbreaker is a pretty standard ulti, to the point where most people are kind of nauseous of seeing it in builds, but I'll let you know right now, Dawnbreaker is one of the best ultis you could be running for this tune. Simply put, this tune doesn't have any AoEs. Besides another skill that we're going to be using in our back bar, but I ain't going to surprise you yet. Really, more or less, if you're trying to do the most amount of burst damage possible in PvP, to the most amount of people possible to support your team, it is best to be using Dawnbreaker, because the other ultimate that we're using in our back bar is a morph of Soul Tether, and if you already know what it is, then you know what the skill is, but I'll explain that a little bit more once we get into it. But Dawnbreaker is really going to help us out in terms of just doing as much burst damage as possible and applying a strong dot to the enemy. This is both good for this patch and next patch, because next patch they're nerfing a majority of dots and making them pretty ass, while also nerfing a majority of hots, making those pretty bad. So in total, you're golden. This patch and next patch. When you're running around in a group and you're trying to do a lot of damage, or even if you're by yourself, Dawnbreaker is a very, very good ultimate. There are alternatives, obviously. If you're by yourself and you're ganking people, even if it's, you know, a 1v4 or 1v5, you could potentially just run incap/slow harvest and just abuse the fact that you're doing so much burst damage initially to just move on to the next target. Even if afterwards you go from just a pure gank into a brawler type, basically like how your playstyle will work, you can do stuff like that. And what I mean by that is, you first go up onto the target, gank one of them, and then you just switch into pure brawl mode after you kill them. And seeing as you're running Soul Harvest, you can get ultimate back very quickly. You can also pop a potion as well to get even more ultimate back. Quite literally, if you do that combo as I just suggested, you can get about, 14 from Soul Harvest, plus the 20 you get from the Siphoning passive as a Stamblade. That's literally like 34 right there. And your ultimate costs about 80 in order to reactivate. So in total, you just got a lot of ultimate back without really even trying too hard. And whenever you activate a siphoning skill, you get ultimate back. I believe you get 2 or 3 ultimate in combat every time you activate a siphoning skill. So you can quickly build up your ultimate very quickly and start ganking people like that, and then go into just brawling and just being ready to do as much damage to one target, kill them, and then move on. You know, you can do stuff like that. But really getting back into what most people are looking for with this jack of all trades is, yes, damage is high, and yes, you have the options to change up your playstyle, but the playstyle that I'll be showcasing in this video is more group play. Obviously, as you've seen, for a while now, we've been hitting people and we've been getting hit, and we've been healing for a lot of damage. The front bar really dictates our damage. We can't apply dots, so we made surprise attack hit as hard as possible. Second, that crit damage come again through the fact that we're running 5-piece medium alongside running a Nightblade, which grants us crit damage, alongside then running the CP that grants us crit damage. In total, we get up to 31% crit damage done. That's very, very strong for our tune, because that really means that we're sitting at 81% increased crit damage whenever we deal damage. This also stacks with the fact that we are doing major and minor berserk, because whenever we're hit, we get major berserk and we get major courage. We also get the minor berserk whenever we do damage from behind to a target. Pause. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit later. Anyway, altogether this tune hits really hard on its front bar. Comboing that with Frenzy Momentum, we can literally hit people for 12k. Easily, without already trying too hard. I've hit people for surprise attacks of 10k. I've hit people for surprise attacks of 9k. You've already seen it in the video. This shit hurts. You don't want to be hit by this tune. It can gank, but it is, in my opinion, not a true gank. It's not. It has the burst damage potential, very much, but it's not a gank. When it comes to Merciless Resolve, obviously, as we light attack and heavy attack, we get stacks of this, which increase our weapon damage up to a total of 300, and then eventually it morphs into Assassin's Will, in which case we can shoot our Spectrum Bow and then hit the target for a massive amount of damage. This is our easy burst damage skill without already trying too hard. It also does heal us, depending on how close we are to the target, for 50% of the damage done. So quite literally, if you wanted, some heals while dealing damage, you can just simply activate the Merciless Resolve, hit somebody for a easy 11k crit, and just roll dodge through them and just get like 5-6k heals from that. Now, That isn't the smartest thing to do, but it is an option for you just to get some type of sustain while you're on your front bar instead of swapping to your back bar, because you have no heals on your front bar. And we're going to explain why you don't have any heals on the front bar, because all of it's on your back bar. Fuck a heal, fuck a hot, you don't need that shit. Anyway, Executor is Executor, just to help out with the burst damage. You may be asking why run Executor when you have Merciless Resolve, and that's because fuck it, we're here to just do as much damage on the front bar, and seeing as our main spammable surprise attack can hit really hard and Merciless Resolve can hit just as hard, why not we just combo all three of them together to make sure that when we want somebody dead, we can burst them down as quickly as possible. That's the plan, that's what we do. Dawnbreaker is Dawnbreaker. We've damn near hit people for fucking 15Ks in this fucking video alone, and some of this shit's been in fucking battlegrounds. That is wild. In CP land, there are definitely some people that have been hit for harder than fucking 14K Dawnbreakers. I'm letting you know right now, they've been hit really fucking hard. And this tune, you know, as you've seen throughout the video, it may seem very squishy, and I will be the first to let you know it is somewhat squishy. But it has so many heals on it, and it stacks so many burst heals, that in truth it's not too squishy. In truth, it's more of a deceptively tanky, which a lot of tunes in my opinion fall into. You're just very deceptively tanky. There's a lot of tunes like that. Like for instance, Real Godzilla's Bowplar, pretty squish. But if you wasn't ready for it and you had to fight it, you know, and you're not the best player per se, he's gonna look deceptively tanky. He's gonna look like, oh my god, I can't kill him. But once you know what to do and how to counter his tune, it becomes pretty easy but to do. Whether or not you can actually do it is another question. Getting right back into this tune though, that's exactly the best way to describe it. Deceptively tanky. And the best way to really go over that is to describe what the fuck's going on in this back bar. And this back bar is really, really important, because everything on this back bar is either a buff or a heal, sometimes both. On this back bar we are running Refreshing Pass. This is a hot, it's a little decent hot, it ain't crazy. I ain't gonna act like this is the saving grace of the tune. However, by running Refreshing Pass, we get access to Minor Intellect, and we get access to Minor Endurance. Now, the Minor Endurance is not as important as the Minor Intellect, because as a Stam tune, it's weird that I'm talking about the fact that we have a Minor Intellect and I'm putting, you know, emphasis on it. But we're able to reach 2.2k mag recovery as a Stam tune, which seems excessive until you realize we use a lot of magic skills. So now we're able to spam out some of these magic skills, and remember, we're running Foresight. This can help us out in just really activating these skills and just doing what the fuck we want to do with these tunes. So this helps us be hybrid, alongside running 2.5k Stam recovery, which helps us just be an actual Stam tune. Getting into the next skill, Mirage. Oh, before I forget, Fresh Path also grants you Major Expedition, so you can move around a little bit more. This helps out with Sea Serpent Coil, but Mirage is very important as well, because Mirage grants us access to Major Evasion, and as well it grants us access to Minor Resolve. So those two buffs together is very, very strong. And since we're running Wretched Vitality, we can activate either the two last skills I just mentioned and get the Wretched Vitality increased mag and Stam recovery. Just activating those two skills, we get it automatically. Refresh Pass, you have to stand inside of it in order to receive it, but still, you can activate the skills and just get that for free without really trying too hard. Just one activation skill. The Mirage really does help us out when it comes to walking into stupid and walking into shit and just face tanking it, because my playstyle is to face tank some attacks, but also just let people know that their damage ain't shit, even though it actually does hurt. Again, we're deceptively tanky, let people know that they ain't shit. That's just my playstyle, alright? Even though I've been whooped plenty of times on it, and as you've seen, there's been Templars that light me up for insane damage, I heal right back up, and the skills I use to heal right back up is Rally and Healthy Offering. Healthy Offering. Getting really into Rally. Rally's a staple. Major Brutality and Sorcery with Minor Endurance. However, in order to make this be the best it possibly can, not only do you have to stack the weapon damage, which Rally helps you do, but also the longer that Rally lasts, the more heals you get out of it, up to a maximum of 300% increased heal from the initial number. For me, I believe my initial number when I fully buff, including Sea Serpent Coil, is about like 7,000, 8,000, so you can increase that by 300%. So that's the number that I sit around with that, and that can crit and actually heal me for my health bar, which it has done a couple times. But then when you get into Healthy Offering is our Magicka spammable heal. It's also our burst heal. So I'll quickly swap over to my back bar, activate a Healthy Offering, and if I'm fully buffed, that's a 17k. No joke, that's just 17k right there. Boom, here's your heals. Now, this also does grant us a buff as well, Minor Mending, so it increases our heals by 8%. But in total, we have access to 2 burst heals while also having access to a hot on our back bar. So if you wanted to, you can sit on your back bar, sit inside the hot, and activate 2 burst heals whenever you need to. And then lastly, activate our most deceptively annoying skill you could possibly be running on a Stamblade this patch and next patch, which is Power Extraction. I know, sounds weird. You may be thinking of some other skill coming on, but Power Extraction is really powerful this turn. We're not using it for the Major Brutality because we already have access to a Major Brutality through Rally. We're using it for the Minor Courage and the Minor Cowardice that it plants on you, and the Minor Cowardice it plants on the enemy. It doesn't apply Minor Cowardice to yourself, so don't go crazy. It applies that to the enemy. The Minor Cowardice reduces their weapon damage by 215, while the Minor Courage grants us 215 weapon damage. You may have already noticed that we get a Major Courage, so yeah, you get access to a Major Savagery, a Minor Savagery, a Major Brutality, a Major Courage, and a Minor Courage, while still stacking Battle Orcs and Battle Shrine 2-hand. And as well, you get a Major Berserk and a Minor Berserk. Yeah, that's how we hit hard. That's how we hit hard. Yeah, 17 minutes to make, just to let you know that's how we hit hard. Yeah, I'm out here. Keep watching the video. Anyway, this tune hits extremely hard. As you've seen throughout the video, when it comes down to healing, it is not a sloucher. When it comes down to dealing damage, it is not a sloucher. When it comes down to taking damage, it does not slouch. It can do all these things together. And the last skill that we use to make sure that everything works as perfectly as possible is Soul Siphon. Soul Siphon is probably the most underrated skill you could be running for a blade in general, because most people do not have a heal back bar when they're on a blade. They're either ganking or they're brawling, and even if they're brawling, they're low-key a little bit ganking. Low-key, they be doing that shit. But they don't run heal back bar. They tend to be, activating teleport, getting around, and then just activating heals that way. That's normally what they tend to do. I prefer Soul Siphon because I want to make sure that if we're calling a Dark Convergence, your ass don't bomb me. And that's what I get upset about. I don't like being bombed myself. So I will activate Soul Siphon, grant the entire team Major Vitality so they get healed 16% more. But also, I can, before that, activate Healthy Offering, grant myself a Minor Mending so I can actually in total heal everybody better for 24% combined healing, alongside Battle Orcs, which increase my weapon damage, which therefore increases my healing done. So in total, this tune smacks really hard on the heals right there. That's a giant burst heal, literally healing you for like 11k off rip, and then a dot for like 50k heals for another 4 seconds. So you're literally getting like 7ks back to back to back to back. In total, this tune hits really hard and does everything you could possibly do, and that's more or less it. I don't got anything else to say, and that's it. Like, that's literally it. You've seen what's going on with these battlegrounds, you've seen everything, so yeah, I'll just have to talk to y'all later. Peace.